Hello everyone and welcome back. The time is now finally here. Build up to match week 1 or two. No, stop. Sorry about that. Build up the match week 1 where we are taking on Southampton, and Newcastle are fortunate enough where it doesn't matter if we don't say anyone this week because we should still be beating Southampton on paper. It's a newly promoted team, one of the favourites to go down, even though I don't think that team's terrible. The likes of Ryan Fraser and our side could potentially go up to Southampton, but of course he won't be playing in time for that game. But Newcastle's point of view, 3 big weeks of the transfer window, we've got to make it count is the main message I feel like everyone at Newcastle will be getting. Of course, Paul Mitchell has his eyes set on Marc Guehi, and we're going to talk about him in this video because he has actually responded to Crystal Palace fans. So some fans had a chance to basically shout a question out to Marc Guehi and asked him whether he'd be leaving Crystal Palace or not. He's actually gave quite an honest answer to it, so we're going to react to that in this video, and we're just going to talk about the news surrounding him and our potential transfers, because there has been a lot of noise and a lot of reports that came out about him despite Newcastle just playing in that Stella Cup weekend. I want to start things off about how optimistic I was coming out of that Stella Cup weekend, because I was quite pleased with how Newcastle would play, like Willie Mosua. I mean, this is a young lad who's played his first game for Newcastle. I thought he looked good. He looked brilliant for £15 million, didn't he? He looked lively. Clearly wanted more time on the board. He was someone that I think you put him alongside Anthony Gordon, or you just give him a bit more firepower on that attack. He's definitely a player with a lot of potential, which is exactly the reason why we signed him. So I feel like for Newcastle, we're looking good. A lot of these youngsters look good as well, and I was honestly very impressed with the 2 matches I watched. You got to remember, Girona and Brest are both Champions League teams. We made both of them look bad, really. Both of them didn't look great. So Newcastle's case, we're very optimistic. But Newcastle had a couple of impressive games, and it makes you want to see more of these players, which is exactly the feeling you should have going into this season. I'm taking on Southampton with all due respect, a team that we should be beating, and Newcastle have a bit of time on our hands to sort anything out regarding the likes of Guehi. So according to reports, there has actually been a second bid that was rejected a couple of days ago. The initial reports on social media was the belief that that bid was around £60 million. It's then been disproven to actually be around 50 million, which is still quite far away from the valuation. You are naughty. And if the second bid was 50 million, I don't even want to know what our first bid was. So Newcastle have still been quite far off from the valuation of the £65 million that Palace wants. In terms of Marc Guehi, Crystal Palace fans actually directly asked him whether or not he'd be leaving the football club. So let's show you the clip now so you guys are fully aware of what I am talking about.
I said, what I look like giving up today,
Are you staying?
when tomorrow.
That was quite an odd response, wasn't it? Just a shrug of the shoulders. I don't know. He responded to the question when asked. I know it wasn't a verbal answer. He did clearly show that shrugging sign where he's unsure of his future. And it wasn't a convincing answer, I'm going to be honest. I feel like, especially if you're a Crystal Palace fan, you had the chance to shout that over to Marc Guehi. You would hope for a more positive response. But honestly, he doesn't know at this time. And it feels like, despite the fact that he has played in Palace's recent pre-season friendly, and despite the fact that, again, nothing seems imminent at the minute, it still seems like Newcastle is bubbling away in the background, or at least a different football team is bubbling away in the background, where someone is trying to buy him, someone is actively trying to buy him, and I still fully believe that Newcastle are well and truly in there. I said last week that I felt like this was a deal that's going to happen, and I know at the time, in terms of the valuation and price, it wasn't truthful from journalists that it was the £60 million bid. It was less than that, but I still feel like Newcastle will get this deal done. It still feels like it's optimistic. There's still hope that a deal can get done. There's reports coming out as early as this morning, still going through positive signs. And I know it's been a bit of a slow sign. It's not been one where Newcastle kind of jumped in for him, but I'm still confident for this one. I still would back him to be a Newcastle player by the end of this window. I like to hope anyway, because Newcastle have clearly dumped everything into this one. I still feel like we're missing a right winger, as well as the fact Newcastle have not even went in for that position yet. And I feel like that's probably Newcastle's one of their main priorities. So the fact that we're stuck to Guehi, we're stuck to this deal for a good week now, and we still seem to be going in for him. I personally feel like this one will happen, or at least there'll be a resolution to this deal where Newcastle will feel like they can get a deal done. And if Palace move the goalpost, so let's just say Newcastle don't get a deal that fits what we want to do, I think we'll move on. But I'm still confident enough to say that I reckon we'll sign him. I'm still confident in backing it, and we'll see over the course of the week how this one transfers. However, in terms of Newcastle United's pursuit to bring in Marc Guehi, we do have to keep into consideration the fact that Fulham want Anderson from Crystal Palace, and now, of course, if that deal progresses, there was absolutely no way Crystal Palace are selling both of their main centre halves. It's unorthodox for a football club to do that, never mind a team that is as well run as Crystal Palace is. So my impression is they'll only sell one of the two centre backs. And if Fulham just decide to throw loads and loads of money at Anderson, which looks like, according to potential sources here, looks like that's a possibility, Newcastle does need to have a race against time. So if Newcastle want Guehi, they're going to have to go in for him now, because if we don't go in for him, let's say Fulham dump potentially £40 million into Anderson, which is a lot of money, by the way, Palace aren't going to mess around, and if they sell one, I don't think they'll sell both. So that is a factor that is going against Newcastle. In my personal opinion, I still feel like our deal is positive, but time is not going to be nice to us, I would say, in terms of this particular deal. But worst case scenario, let's say Newcastle don't get this player in, you still got the likes of Foul from AC Milan. I think especially in a winger as well, I would much rather, you know what, this is an opinion from me, you guys might not agree with it, but I actually much rather potentially sacrifice this deal and then to spend all this money in a good white winger to bring him in. I watched the likes of Lloyd Kelly. I know he's an injury prone player, but I watched the likes of Kelly play pre-season. He just is like a left-sided Fabian Schär, the way he pings the ball around. I think defensively he looks quite sound, so I think Newcastle can hold out. If the likes of Botman, according to rumours, get back in time for around that October period, I think Newcastle can survive, but probably still need both of them in. So in my personal opinion, I don't necessarily mind sacrificing Guehi for means of actually signing a good winger in, but the impression is that Newcastle loses out in Guehi to just spend all the money in the centre half anyway. So we'll see what happens in this one. What will be, but Newcastle does have to act now if they want to bring him in, due to the fact that I don't think Palace are selling both of their centre halves in this window. It has also been reported on social media that Newcastle United did in fact play a second behind closed doors game yesterday at our training ground, where of course Sandro Tonali is allowed to play in those matches. And as we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago when we played Burnley down at their training complex, I don't know exactly how the laws work in terms of Tonali's availability behind closed doors, but we have not found out about the result from that Burnley game, and I feel like in this case it'd be the exact same. So for the sake of making sure Tonali's allowed to play in this game, it must be the impression that Newcastle United is not allowed to disclose any information from the match. We don't know who scored, don't know what the score was, and we don't know what happened. So we're never going to find out that information, but it's also good news to hear that once again Sandro Tonali has been involved with a match yesterday, and of course he'll be back around the time of the Tottenham home game, if I'm correct in saying that. So a couple more weeks and his ban is up. I can't believe I'm saying that. I can't wait to watch this guy play again, because it will feel like a brand new signing. I feel like, especially if I was in his point of view, mentally, but you know it's less than a month until you get him back. He must be fired up by that. It must give him that second wind when he's training or when he's exercising. It must be that key catalyst that gets Tonali straight back in that pitch. And things are looking good. Things are looking good for us, and I can't wait to see him play again. I hope you've enjoyed the updates that I've been able to give you in regards to Newcastle United. I'm sure within the next couple of days or towards the back end of this week, I feel like we'll get some progression, we'll get some positive news. Newcastle are expected to have an extremely busy end to this window. I don't think we're not signing anyone. If I'm going to give you a straight up answer, I believe Newcastle are definitely at least bringing somebody in at the end of the window. You got to remember Newcastle have already bidded at least £50 million into Guehi, so we have at least £50 million that we can spend in this window. So I fully believe that Newcastle will buy at least someone. If worst case scenario happens with the player that we want to get in, I think we'll get somebody else. So it's not the end of the world, I would like to say, but I feel like Newcastle need to try and get this deal done, considering how much time we spent on it. I think especially where we are now, I haven't got much time left to move around with, so Newcastle want to get their particular targets, especially with Paul Mitchell just coming in. I feel like the targets that we wanted, we've got to try and land them straight away and just make sure we give off a good impression this season in the Premier League. I think our team statistically on paper now can challenge for Champions League football, but I want to have that assurances where I can just bank on Newcastle getting European football this campaign, and just making sure we have everything that it takes to just throw everything at this league and throw everything at domestic cups. Now I want to see us win someone. It's been 69 years since the domestic trophy. I mean, how has it been 69 years? It's mental. That's my dad's lifetime and my grandparents, you know what I mean? Like, you want to see Newcastle do it, and that's got to be something that our players are striving towards. We've been close already. We can do it. And in terms of European football, we've got to make sure we get regular, consistent European football. Make sure that this off-season is a one-off, and Newcastle can use this season to our advantage and just get the players we need in to make sure our players can gradually develop and become even better players in the team, and then just to throw everything at this league and just to try and get Champions League football again. Thank you all for watching though. We'll see you at the kit launch tomorrow. Make sure you get yourselves there to buy the new away kit. We'll see you guys there if you end up turning up, but take care and we'll see you all in the next one.